Welcome! This video provides a step-by-step tutorial on how to create a fold flat box card for Halloween using the Hallows Night Magic bundle. This is the second card of my 2-card October series. The first card in this series was the Black Poinsettia card. For those of you who purchased the kit, take a moment now to make sure you have all the pieces and materials shown here. It should all be in the envelope provided. And I have added the dimensions if you wanted to create this project from scratch. And I'm providing this materials list for any additional non-class participants to follow along as well. Before we dive into the project, I wanted to take a moment to show you what this card looks like, both flat and as your recipient takes it out of the envelope. Now this card is a variation of the one I'm showing today, and it also uses the Coming Home bundle. This one was taught to me by elainescreations.net. Alright, to get us started, I'm going to show you how I created the card base. Using an 8.5 by 11 sheet, I'm cutting it lengthwise at 4 inches. So this is 4 by 11. Now I'm positioning the paper at 2 inches, so right in half, and I'm only going to score it down to 7 1/4. Now I'm going to rotate the paper. And I will point out the two different tools. The darker is the cutting tool, the lighter is the scoring tool. If I position this at 2 inches, I'm going to use the cutting tool to go down 2 inches and the scoring tool to go up 2 inches. Shifted it over to 5 1/4. I cut and score. Same thing for 7 1/4 and 10 1/2. So now I'm going to cut off an extra little tab, this little piece on the end, right at the half mark at 2 inches. I'm actually going to cut this little tab at a little bit of an angle. And I applied tear tape onto that tab. So now for all of my class participants, you're going to fold along all of these vertical lines away from you. And all of these upper flaps, you're going to fold towards you. And now the best tip for putting this together evenly is you're going to flip it over so the tear tape is on the other side. Fold down that first section that doesn't have a score line, and now you can remove your tear tape backing. And now lining up on the left-hand side, I'm going to fold up the bottom section. If you do that, your box should fold perfectly. Next, I'm going to show you how I stamped the Happy Halloween sentiment for the back greeting. This is using a red rubber cling stamp from the Hallows Night Magic stamp set. And this is Rich Razzleberry for the color of the ink. Okay. Simple, gentle pressure applied. And again, there's one section that doesn't have a score line. We're going to adhere this to the back. Now let's gather some of your pieces from your kit. The designer series paper. I believe this is called Magic in the Night. It's currently on 15% discount through the end of October. And now for this black middle insert, for my class, I've already pre-scored this, so you're just going to fold it and reinforce that fold with my fingers. And now I'm going to apply a liquid glue here. I'm not using tear tape because I want a little bit of movement before it dries. And I'll show you in just a moment why. If you are using liquid glue, that is not this multi-purpose glue. If you're using like Elmer's or any other kind of liquid glue, use it sparingly. You don't want to warp the paper. And now I'm going to insert this with both of the glue, wet glue, facing outwards. I place it in. I have my box card set on the table. I place it in, and now I'm adhering the wet glue to the sides. I'm now going to squish my box, and that's going to help me make sure that this middle insert is lined up perfectly. So by squishing it, it's going to shift just a little bit. And again, that helps it line up. So that way your card can fold flat. If this is even just a little bit off, your card may not fold perfectly flat. So again, if you used liquid glue, if there's any squishing out of the sides, you want to make sure to wipe that up before it dries, and that you don't want it to stick. All right, now I'm going to apply the designer series paper. The biggest piece goes along the back side against the panel that is not scored. This skinnier rectangle is for the front, and the two squares are for the side flaps. The beauty of the designer series paper is you get to pick and choose which side you want to use. Feel free to make it your own. Next, we're going to grab this little hill, black hill piece, and pick which way you want your hill to point. And we're just going to apply glue along that bottom flat edge, the longest edge. You're going to apply this to your middle insert, and be careful if your glue hasn't fully dried yet. Mine shifted just a little bit, so I'm going to adhere the hill, and then I'm going to fold it flat again to reposition that middle insert until it fully dries. Now you're going to grab all your little decoration pieces. So this little haunted house, for my class, I've already glued it together. You have these beautifully detailed stamped bats, the 3 little black glitter bats, and this little spider web. Now, where I glue these on my card does not have to be the same place that you glue them. But I am going to show you, I glue this to the back piece. This designer series paper, this pattern has these beautiful bats on this, what appears to be like a foggy, cloudy night. So I'm going to add the 3 glitter bats there as well. And what I'm doing here is I'm using my bone folder just to show you. You could use your fingers here, but I'm just curling up the wings. And then I use my fingernail to fold the wings upwards. So you can it just gives a little bit of dimension to the little bats. You can use glue dots here, a little bit of liquid glue, place them down. And then this next little piece, the haunted house, I'm gluing to the top of the hill. But you want to make sure that this doesn't go up too much further past the top of your back piece. My friend Elaine used the Coming Home bundle to make some haunted houses for her box card. But this one I actually drew on my iPad Pro and cut it using my Cricut. So I did this for our community project last year, and so figured we could use it again for this year. Now for the bats, I am folding along the bat joints. So where each little point appears on the wing, I consider that a joint. And so I'm folding it on each of those. So you can see it a little bit better with this bigger bat. So the joint, just use my finger to fold the wing backwards along each of those points. There's 4 of them. And then I flip the bat over, and then right at the body of the bat and where the wing attaches, I'm folding upwards. Again, just using my fingernail. If you wanted to, you can even add a little bit of curve. So that's what I'm doing here, is just slowly, just a little bit, adding a little bit of curve with my finger in between the joints. It's just fun to mention. This is so totally optional. And again, you can use dimensionals here. You can use glue dots, liquid glue. I had my liquid glue right here, so that's what I used. And now I'm going to show you how I stamped the label. I'm actually going to use the Stamparatus, which is a stamp platform. And I did this because I already had the stamps set up to make a whole bunch of labels for all the different class kits I made. And you can see here I also had one for the bats. It makes it much easier to die cut a bunch of pieces and then stamp on those pieces instead of stamping first and then having to die cut and line it up. So this is just the method I prefer. There's many tutorials out there. If you're interested in it, let me know. Okay, but I'm just placing my label inside my little template now, and I'm inking up my first stamp. This is the greeting from the Hollows Night Magic. Again, with red rubber cling, just barely pressing, and you get a beautiful, clean, crisp impression. And my second step is the black spider. I love the vintage look of these stamps. It's not a solid spider. There's like little intentional missing pieces and shading. All right, so for my class, for this label, you should have 2 white dimensionals. You're going to place those on the back side, take off the backing, and place it where you'd like. So that is our finished fold flat box card. And here are some images of the card I made following Elaine's tutorial. And that was using the Coming Home bundle and rich raspberry bats on the back. Thank you again for joining me today. And as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. See you next time.